Hey, Rob Foreman again. Welcome back. So let's start on Module 2, but let's do a quick recap on what we did in Module 1. Once we identified what our target time range was for possible refinance leads, we went ahead and downloaded that data. I used Armless because I'm both a Arizona broker and mortgage loan originator. If you are using Armless, know that you are capped on downloads. The maximum number of records you can download in one transaction is 50,000. So when you get into years that have had a lot of transactions, you're going to have to split the year in half. And I would just tell you that's good practices anyway. Um, so we did that. We downloaded the data. And then with ChatGPT's help, we wrote a Python script to analyze that data. So we did some initial validation, got rid of some records that we didn't want. At the same time, we read in Freddie Mac weekly survey mortgage data so that we could estimate what the interest rate was at the time that all of these homeowners purchased their loans. And then, or excuse me, purchased their homes. And then at the end, we went ahead and the column that contains the loan type in that armless data, we went ahead and deleted that. And then we just saved that final record and we called it targets CSV. I'm going to go ahead and open mine. The only adjustments I've done is I changed close of escrow to COE. You can see this right here. I changed, what else did I change? I changed the APN number. I think it's saved as parcel number. I just shortened that to APN. And then way at the end, I took days on market and I shrunk that down to DOM. Now notice that we didn't have this before. We had a big features column. We talked about all of the data that's this unmapped data in pairs, data pairs, that are just buried in this column. So we got rid of that. And then you notice that when Chat created this script, it went ahead and sort of summarized, hey, this loan took place during the week of, such and such. This is what the base rate was, that base rate being whatever the conventional rate was or weekly average. And then reduced it if it was a government loan. You can see this one here. This was an FHA loan. So in November 22, the rate was actually 6.61. So we would adjust that down to 6.11. So we can see our logic's working. Here's one of these other types of loans, whether it was seller financing, non-QM, we really don't know. We just know it's different. And it's 3% higher than what the conventional rate was at the time. So this worked, and that's nice to know. So anyway, on to the next stage. And that's what this screencast is all about, not this. Where are my notes? Okay, here we go. So now we're going to do some further enhancement with using the Maricopa County Tax Assessor's API. So what do I need to do this? Well, if you notice the duration, it's going to take multiple days to get all this data because, for one, it's a huge data set, right? We estimated it was north of 100,000. I should have pulled up the exact record count from the targets, but it's north of 100,000. We're calling on four different data points. So you figure a second a data point, and let me grab the calculator on my phone. So let's just say I had 100,000 records and I wanted to search all these four data points. Well, that's 400,000 seconds. Divide that by how many seconds are in a minute? And then that's 60. And then how many minutes are in an hour? So that's 111 hours. and then we divide that by 24. So you're going to have your computer going for several days, right? Um, and this is at the point where cost benefit. Is it just worth, should I just pay my title rep or should I pay for a marketing company to pull all this additional data? Because at the end of the day, we're not looking for much. We just want to get the owner's name, their mailing address, and I'm going to do some additional stuff. I want to see the last D date and D type, and I'll explain why in a moment. But if you're only working with 5,000, you only want to target a certain neighborhood, you don't have to go to these great lengths. Now, I'm going to one so that you get practice or you can see how we can work with ChatGPT. This aligns with my learning framework that I spoke about in the last mod, AAEL. But two, I'm going to use this data for something else. It isn't just going to be, hey, I want to get these names and correct addresses so I can upload it to Facebook. No, I'm going to do some predictive analytics with this. And that'll be for a future project. But I'm going to use this data again. And I'm going to use everything that I'm downloading because I know that most of the features that I'm going to get with this enhancement is going to help my model be more successful, both in predicting future or forecasting sales, but also in predicting likely homeowners over a certain time period. But anyway, play along. Let's do this together. So you got to have a computer that's dedicated. I would have no screen lock or screensavers come on. Anything that's going to disrupt it. Think of that computer, that extra computer. It's just a terminal for a couple of days. You can just leave it on continuously. It's, software updates. Turn that off because computers will they'll update the software, then they'll automatically update. Sometimes they won't reboot your computer, but if you reboot, well, that will sever the API connection and then you're going to have to start over. Also at the same time too, the script is going to eliminate some additional rows that I don't need. And but also in this mod too, we have to figure out how we get access to that API. And so there's some additional work that we're going to need to do. But anyway, just some basic, if you've ever wondered what is an API, it's an application programming interface. It's probably the third time in my life I've said all three words and not just say API. But it's a structured way to connect directly to a data provider's system. So we can get, and with this API, it's basically, it's automated, right? It's just this huge data pipeline that we're extracting information from going into your computer. And we typically use APIs when we're at a really large scale. But I'm doing this to enhance the MLS data, as I mentioned, because when we get the data from MLS, and this is what a target, this is what this is an example of the data that we're going to get from Maricopa County Tax Assessor. I'm going to go to the end here, and the one thing or several things that we don't get from Armless is we don't get the owner's name, which is right here. We don't get the mailing addresses. And why is that important? Because usually if there's a different mailing address, that's indicative of maybe it's an investor, maybe the second home. And again, we're looking to finance people who are primary refinances and not deal with investors. We want homeowners. Are there chances that we could get better rates for second homeowners or vacation homeowners? Absolutely, and we'll cross that path. We'll determine whether or not we're going to go after those or not. But we definitely want to get rid of the investors, okay? But if you decided you wanted to do a direct mail campaign, it would probably help to have the owner's name. And we need the owner's name for our Facebook list, for our Facebook marketing list. Now, I'm going to use all this data for a lot of other things, knowing what the home is constructed of, what type of home it is. These are features that could be impactful in determining whether a home is more likely to sell than another. And you know what? This is just a good practice exercise to work with an API if you've never done it before. Again, it doesn't have to be at this scale where we're pulling over 100,000 records. But anyway, let's go back to what we're doing. One thing I didn't touch on, if you noticed, you'll see here deed date and deed type. Well, some of these homes may have already flipped, so that will tell me that I probably don't want to go after them. But two, the deed type will also tell me whether or not they've had a refinance already since they've purchased the home. And so I'll key on deed dates and sales dates. You know, sometimes there's recording errors. So you could see, like, for example, this particular property, sale date was May 1st, but the deed date, the most recent deed date is June 25th. Could there have been some sort of recording error? Absolutely. So I'll probably write in a filter of if the deed date is 60 days or greater than the sale date, that's, you know, I want to try to figure out what's going on there, right? So it's just more data to help us refine our list and to drill down to those likely targets. All right, so let's go to best practices. So what we want to do is we want to prevent hammering when we're writing our script. We want to prevent, because we're asking for multiple loads or multiple data points, getting information from multiple data points, plus we're doing tens of thousands of records. We don't want to give a reason for the server to knock us out. So we don't want to overload it, or if it thinks that, you know, we're some sort of virus or something that is potentially damaging to the network, that it doesn't block us or throttle us, or knock us offline. So when we make our requests, when we're writing the script, we want to make sure that we give ourselves a little bit of time in between all of these requests, right? So we're gonna have like this 4-second buffer in between records, or in between requests, so that it doesn't think that we're overloading it and it doesn't knock us off. All right. Error handling. So sometimes if you don't have scripting to address this, this is another way to get knocked off from your APN, or have your connection knocked off. So all we want to do is, if we get an error, if we're unable, you know, maybe the APN is written incorrectly, it's the wrong information, so it can't locate a property with that APN, we don't want it to stop. We want it to just move to the next record. So our scripting has to address that. And then, just because of other things that could happen, your computer crashes. Maybe the power goes out in your home. You don't have or you don't have your computer plugged in, or whatever. I mean, there's a number of reasons that something from our end, from the user end, as well as from the service center, that can knock us out. So what we're going to do is we're going to run in chunks this processing. And when we get to a certain benchmark, we're going to go ahead and create a file. So that way, if we do get knocked off, we don't have to start at the beginning. We can just start again where we left off. All right. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to do a series of prompts, and I'm going to include this information so you can download this and you can see for yourself what it is that I asked the computer. I'm not going to do this in real time because this is time consuming, but we're going to do our initial prompts, and then as you can see from this outline, you're literally just going to cut and paste the prompt to AI. And at the same time, we're also going to learn how we're doing or what it is that the scripting is doing so that we can learn how this works. Now, one thing that you need to do before you start this is you need to download the Maricopa County Assessor's Office API documentation. Okay, that's one thing, because when you do your initial prompt, you're going to attach that form, right? And like I said in the first prompt here, I have the documentation, summarize to me the main endpoints, etc. You know, tell me what's going on. But before we can even do that, the second step is after you download the documentation is you need to complete this contact form and ask them to get a token. And that token, I'm not going to show you mine because that's a code, but once you get that token, then you could go ahead and build that API script. You cannot do anything without getting this code. You know how much it costs? Zero, nothing. It's free, okay? But you have to get this code before you can do that. Now, once you go through your to and fro, and again, you're going to have all my steps for writing the code, writing incrementally. You're going to do prompts to ask it to address, how do we handle errors? How are we going to do batch processing? When you get done, you're going to get quite a lengthy script. And you can see here, this goes out to about almost 250 lines of code. But when you're done and you push play, you can see here, look at all this information that I have. And it is great. I'll go back to it, and you can see on here, you've got the mailing information, the ownership information, but again, the stuff that I really like is more information about the type of home. And these things are important when you get to the next project, which is predicting likely home sellers, what are homes most likely to sell? You have the type of roof, the materials that are involved. And this also is good in forecasting too, because those homes most likely to sell, they meet certain parameters. And we need to know what those parameters are. All right, so for the next mod, we're going to wrap everything up. We're going to do a lot of what I call pruning. We're going to whittle down these lists to get down to the Facebook list that we need. We're going to just delete stuff that I really don't think you need at all. It's up to you if you want to keep it. But we'll take care of that in mod 3. But go ahead and get started on this. You've got the prompts that I'm providing you. And if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me through my website or through YouTube, and you can also reach out to me through my email as well. Good luck, and I'll see you at the next mod.